are so significant, they can definitely be a part of a major technology and industrial revolution, and in many ways. So without further ado, let me just give a quick outline of what we are talking about. So okay, so I wanted to focus on India, because I'm sure we can all talk about several examples across the world about how factories in US, Europe, or China, how they're all happening, which is perfectly fine. I mean, there's no issue with that. Now, the issue is how we are going to help bring up several of these the excellent students and the population and the people to be qualified to participate in this the growth journey. So first, a strategic perspective about the growth story all the way up to 2025 and then beyond. And then manufacturing in India, and a few snippets about that. And India and industry modernization and leadership opportunities and the power of data and AI. I see that you cannot end any topic without an AI. And unfortunately, I started my career in AI almost like 35 years ago. And I'm still glad that it is still the popular topic. So firstly, strategic perspective. Can you all see the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So first, if you notice any kind of a modernization or industrialization to happen, there are several phases in the country. I'm just trying to keep it simple without going any political boundaries and such. I think the major industrialization that started happening from 2015 to 2025 is due to certain policies and the fast-moving projects. So till 2015, the R&D investment was not adequate. Yes, there was in India, especially in IITs, ISCs, and several research grants were happening, but just in comparison with where we are going now, it was not sufficient. And also there's an intense skill mismatch, and also the informal economy was rampant, and also the several government projects were getting delayed for whatever the reasons. From 2015-25, we've seen the policies such as production links incentives, and also the government taking up very large goals for each sector. So one sector that I'm part of, which is renewables. In 2011 or 12, there was a Jawaharlal Nehru solar mission. And that solar mission had a target of 10 megawatts across India, right? In 2015, the target was increased to, I think, 50 gigawatts. Today, we are talking about 500 gigawatts and to 2,000 gigawatts in the next several years. So this is a kind of an aggressive, large goals that are set up for each and every sector is actually catapulting a lot of industries and a lot of industrialization, modernization, and also India is becoming is a major force on the global stage. And also we see several projects, government projects moving faster. At least I've seen through several companies such as L&T, and we work with them in India, and several more. And we've seen how we have come across, how fast we have moved in the past 10 years. And also the very key point is the indigenization in railways and defense. And you can see the Vande Bharat trains and the way the new trains are getting built. And I actually am talking from Hyderabad. We have a fantastic, very large railway manufacturer, the stock manufacturer, a company called Medha. And I think if any of the colleges are around, and if you would like to visit, that's definitely a company to visit, Medha. And in defense also, many of the projects that India is taking up or imports, they're always insisting on indigenization. Earlier also it was there, but now it is a lot more. And also GST brought transparency, and also with the COVID, The geopolitics impact was that several countries were now seriously looking at what after China. It's just that it's not that they were not thinking earlier, but from 2020 onwards, people started, suspecting China and also wanted to build alternatives for China. And at the time, there were a whole bunch of policies that started happening in India, and that to encourage them. Now, and also the biggest issue, the topic that we have noticed, all around us, is the increased consumer demand. The Indian middle class, the lower middle class, are increasing rapidly. Out of the 140 crores we have, pretty much like a good number of people are raising above the poverty line, and the spending power of people has gone up. So that actually increases the requirement for industrialization. Just yesterday morning, we were just thinking, me and my father were talking about getting a gas cylinder, right? And, today you just have to give a missed call and you have it. And we have 3 cylinders, and me and my father, we are the only people in the house today. So this, there are many more families who are actually are asking for these kind of the goods, basic consumer goods, vegetables, clothes, and whatnot. Now they're all abundantly available despite the very high consumer demand. That's the pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid is really wielding its power. If you look at the Americas, the famous race to global power, it is their consumer economy. And I think India is fast picking up on the consumer economy, and that requires rapid industrialization in every sector. And now, from 2025 onwards, now we see even more policies and also more sector-specific funds. So you see, there are enormous funds now in defense sector, electronics. I would say there are also funds for manufacturing semiconductors, right? There's a huge semiconductor policy that is going on, and several chip level manufacturing started in Gujarat and several other states, and many fabs are opening up in India. And that's a significant change that only can happen only because of sector specific funds and support from the government. And the government projects keep expanding and adding more and more, like the number of submarines that we have today, the number of defense aircraft that are being ordered. If you look at the Hindustan Aeronautics, they have an order book of 1.25 lakh crores today, and they're going to add 1 lakh more crores of order book to them. So that, look at the kind of a rapid expansion that HAL would be having not only in their main factories, but also in all of their supply chain. And when it comes to indigenization, we see that in renewables, defense, space, semiconductors, so many things happening. Now the geopolitics have intensified further. Now, one thing is that we have, I would say, a favorable government in US at this point, who can support India in the global stage, and that would add to a lot more importance to India. And again, the fast expanding middle class and household consumption, that's all shaping up India to become a major global consumer power. Now, obviously, all this can happen only if Indian industry is in desperate need of quality and committed workforce. Now, that is going to make or break Industry 4.0 vision. I'm sure you all are aware of it. Now, this is not something that AI can solve or Java can solve. I'm just going to try to enlighten some of those points. I'm sure you all know it, but I do hope they should be in the center of the biggest rapid change that is happening around us. So, when it comes to Industry 4.0 and upwards, now India is seeing several greenfield factories. So I used to visit some old factories when I was in high school. We visited in science school in near Vizianagaram. We were taken to a sugar factory, and we were taken to I believe it's a jute factory. And they had lots of machines and whatnot, and there are lots and lots of people working in the industry. That is one. But now today, if when you have new industries that are getting set up in India, they're all starting right away with a lot of technology involvement, robotics, AI, IoTs, sensors, and people are trying to get into contactless manufacturing or zero people manufacturing units. So there's enormous industrialization that is happening, that is today. All the industries that are getting started in the past 5 years are taking up these newer principles, newer technologies, and trying to be smart and in the global stage. Now, what also it means is that earlier we mentioned about the increasing Indian economy. So it is not like an industry, if it wants to hire somebody, a technologist for, let's say, 50 lakh rupees, they're not going to, they're not filching, they're not hesitating. I know 20, 25 years ago, when I was talking to people in India, even the banks, the largest the banks, they always used to say, hey, we are in India, you know what, we cannot pay you that much. But that is not the case anymore. India is paying well, and there is a good quality workforce that you can hire. And as a result, good technologies are coming into the fore, and a lot of these are already bringing in efficiency, profitability, and quality, and the products have a lot better quality, and even the reduced expenses in the long run. So it is happening around us very quickly, very fast. And I was in a milk milk processing factory near Hyderabad. And I've seen that it is a zero-touch company, factory, where they have this milk that is collected in different villages. It comes in a container, tanker, and once that, and with whatever the quality checks that happen, and once it comes into the factory at the inlet, there is a clear quality check, whatever the number of samples they take and whatever the quality checks they do. Right after that, there is a tube that is attached to the tanker, and from that point onwards, it's completely, that goes into the milk is pumped into the factory. It goes to various stages of pasteurization, processing, and creating, whether it's ice cream or sweets or actual milk package, whatever that is, it's all completely industrialized. So it's a zero touch. Nobody's seeing the milk anymore. After the tanker, people just see the end product. So these companies are doing, are coming up very, very fast, and it's an excellent environment. So ESG and its roadmap also requires smart factors. We all know the sustainability is at the center of this, all this emergence, so it's important. Technology-wise, yes, there are a lot of the components and solutions that are available in India, and now Indian industry can afford this quality manpower. And as we see, we know that some of the quality workforce are returning from US. It's a good and bad for in many ways, and we can utilize that manpower to implement really quality solutions in India. Even the global majors and a lot of local startups are vying for this smart factory space. And recently, I saw an online video of Mahindra & Mahindra when they released their new electric vehicle SUV. I've seen the factory and the video of the factory. It is superb. I mean, just world class in every way. I think 5 years or maybe 10 years ago, I used to see these kind of videos from European factories or Chinese, but now India is no less. And I'm so proud to see this kind of innovation and investments by Indian industrialists to build that type of quality products. So now when it comes to leadership opportunities, there are several, I always call them as, either you can call them as challenges or you can call them as opportunities. It's either, right? I mean, it's both. So firstly, Indian industry needs to be resilient. Yes, changes are happening, and every company or every factory or every manufacturer needs to engage the board and investors and take them into confidence that Industry 4.0 or any of these advancements are, the benefits are real. It's not a question of whether it works or not, but definitely will work. And obviously, whether it's a greenfield or a brownfield type of a factory, they can come up with different strategies. But the results are already there. There are many, many use cases across the world and even in India. And it's not like, I know just about 5 years ago, people used to, I know from Hyderabad, I know some ministerial delegations, some people used to say, they're going to Europe to see how the roads are built. Right. I mean, now today you don't have to. Some of the best roads, some of the best airports, so many things are happening in India. The best of the examples are right here in India. We all should be proud of that. And we need to any kind of the change or towards modernization or implementations. They'll start from the board and investors and build up the confidence. And you need to hire the management needs to hire a CIO or CTO. Your traditional CFO or somebody else who was there, they may not be able to take the leadership. You need people with the latest tools who are exposed to the latest technologies. And you need to set up a smart factory team inside your company who have cross-disciplinary expertise. And your CIO or CTO should be able to lead the team and be able to help you out. And also invest in R&D and also a center of excellence. Depending on what you are manufacturing, let's say somebody's has a steel plant, somebody is manufacturing toys, somebody is manufacturing any other type of products, or a food industry, or drinks or juices, whatever, agricultural products, whatever the industry is. You need to know the type of technologies that are coming in, and you need to set up your own center of excellence that would address the type of use cases that you have in mind. And you need to come up with all kinds of, in preparation of that, if it is a brownfield plant, you need to set up an architecture and a vision to be able to to gather as much data systemic from all the subsystems and be able to bring them into a centralized database or view so that they can be utilized for transparency and insights. Now, I mean, we can say this again, your vision is as good as your team. Yeah, you can actually do whatever PowerPoints you can, but if you don't have the right CIO, CTO, and the architects or the smart factory team, then you will not be able to create the kind of modernization that you need to bring in. So in order to do this, one of the biggest way is that we need to develop cross-functional leaders. Maybe you have mechanical engineers who are now getting motivated to understand what the latest technologies are. Maybe they are smarter. More than the word smart, I would say they are more curious and engaged in learning new ways of doing things, right? New ways of learning things. And you know, the way the management terms that people use from what was it from Japanese? There's something called muda. Muda is wastage. So wastage is something the Japanese look at in the material that is used at each step of the way, and how much waste is generated versus how much is could be saved, and also the time that is spent in each job, and the efficiency of each worker at every stage, and also any kind of equipment and the automations that are there. So Muda is a way to identify those kind of small opportunities of the wastage at every small point, identify them. Now, the way they do is encourage the technical people, even the lowest of the technician is encouraged to tell, hey, I'm actually doing this, running this line of, sending these bottles out for filling up with some juice or some, let's say it's a Coca-Cola plant, a bottling plant. Okay, there are bottles that are going on the line and I'm the supervisor, I'm the technician looking at it. Now, ask him, what does it take to speed it up? What does it take to make sure there's less wastage? So when you encourage people to look at outside the box and encourage and reward people for these kind of ideas, and also ask people from different functions to talk to each other, then they start becoming more creative, flexible, and adapt the change that is imminent, that's going to happen everywhere. And this is one thing that I learned in life for the past several years. There are no perfect solutions. I think anytime somebody says this is the right solution, this is a perfect solution, I mean, there's no such thing in the world. Everything is transient. Something can be perfect one time, and the next minute it may not be the perfect one. Or something that doesn't work, it may be the solution, exact solution somebody else wants. So there are no perfect solutions in this world, and no perfect technologies. So, and there is nothing that something is proven in Germany or something proven elsewhere, and suddenly you need to use it. don't assume anything. So firstly, don't assume that something else is perfect, somebody else is great, somebody else is better. And you need to adapt to things with full confidence with your team. So firstly, there are no perfect solutions. And even if the company comes from wherever it is, it doesn't mean it's going to work out of the box for you. So the only way to learn is fail fast, learn quickly. That's the only method. So in order to do that, once this enterprise vision for the plant, what are we doing now? Let us say you're setting up a plant to manufacture green hydrogen, right? Okay, fine. Okay, how do you do the green hydrogen? You need a bunch of electrolyzers. Now, these electrolyzers require pure water, right? And if you don't purify the water that's coming in, if you don't know the quality of water that's coming in and way to purify it, and if you don't do that, then the electrolyzers are going to require a lot of maintenance or they get spoiled very quickly. Your expensive investment can go bad very quickly. So bringing it on into the electrolyzers, that's all one part. Then once the green hydrogen is generated, now how is it contained? How is it put into containers? Because it's very unstable. So what does it require? The safety and security of the output product. Then how do you transport it, right? So when you have, let's say, if somebody is setting up a green hydrogen plant, I mean, as you know, across India, I know one or two companies are probably ahead by 2-3 years, couple of years. And I know that several companies are trying to set up or start their hydrogen generation. Now, as it happens, when that happens, now, how are you going to learn all these things? So what they're going to do is they take the entire process and break it into small pieces, small. Now, I'm not even talking about Industry 4.0 here. It is just a process, right? How do you start a new process? So you take the entire manufacturing process and the storage and the transport, everything, right? So one of the easiest way to the proper way to send hydrogen to longer distance is by converting into ammonia, right? So these are all the things that actually, how do you know that? So always break whatever the entire process into small pieces. And for each small area, you come up with a POC, proof of concept. And you actually engage 1 or 2 vendors or companies or consultants who are actually good in that area and ask them to prove it in your environment, set up the POCs. And this is something that's very, very common for us. I mean, for me, that's the way we grew up in AT&T. We used to build extremely large products, but we never start to build a large product out of the box. We always break the entire product or the technology or anything that we're building into smaller pieces, identify the critical components. And for each component, we build proof of concepts, right? And based on the proof of concepts, we actually start engaging certain vendors, and you start building up partnerships, not just a vendor. See, earlier, probably when you're purchasing some pipes or cables or some raw material from some companies in a typical factory, that is all one thing. Whether you have relationship or not, that's different. But Industry 4.0 is going to be highly people intensive because technology is going to be people intensive. If you don't have the right team, the technology cannot be delivered, nor sustained or operated and used for the long run. So it is always building up these partnerships either through employees within the company or partners who you need to recruit and build up those relationships. And as you go through these POCs, if it has achieved the objectives, by the way, we go through these POCs in all the time in US, India. Anytime we start off a new thing, we always start with a POC, right? So these POCs need to be set up with clear objectives. And as these POCs are delivered and the lessons are clearly learned and the partnerships are verified, then you go to the next level of POC, next level of POC, next level of POC. And before you know, very quickly, you start seeing that you get the confidence of a partner, a technology component, and a process, and also an internal confidence. Even your internal teams need to buy into whatever modernization that you're bringing into the organization. So in order to build up that kind of a confidence, it is very important for you to do the POCs and get the stakeholders involved and look at the outcomes and be able to build it up, right? So on a quarterly basis, look for the best POCs, execute them, learn the lessons, build it up into real projects and real implementations. So always look for partners, not just vendors. Vendor management is something I don't like, and something I know there is a specific tone to it, but Industry 4.0 or any kind of a modernization, Industry 4.0, 5.0, AI, whatever the new technologies that you bring in, you always need to look for partners who are going to travel with you in your own story. That is the most important. Not just keep talking about some stories that they've done across the world, but what they will do for you in your company on your use cases. That's the most important. The second thing, next part that is going to be a major strategic problem is collaboration. Break the walls. Now, you cannot have electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, or your storekeepers, or your finance, or your commercial, or your energy department, facilities department, or your IT department. These kind of departments are going to be very difficult to maintain with walls between them, right? So it's most important that these departments do not function in silos. They all collaborate to a certain level. Because what is going to happen with any kind of a modernization or this smart factory type of technologies is that the first thing is any kind of a smartness or intelligence requires data. And the first order of business would be to gather data from every subsystem, every sensor across your, all the way from initial, as I said, I described earlier about a dairy factory. Starting from the point the milk is collected in a container, right from that point, there is a sensor, there is an IoT, there is a data coming in from how much milk is getting collected at different locations, and how much milk is coming from different these transport containers, and these trucks coming in with these tankers, and how much of stock, milk stock is coming from different areas, and when is it supposed to arrive in your factory, and how long does it take to do the quality checks and then bring it in and bring it into the process, right? So now I cannot just say that, hey, you are a driver, I don't know where you are. You just you're not going to call him up. So even the driver, knowing that he's being tracked, he cannot steal milk. He cannot just spill the milk on the way. Some of the water tankers sometimes we see they keep spilling water on the way. You cannot do that in a milk container, right? In a milk tanker. So all these departments, even to the simplest to the highest level employees, now you cannot hide anymore, right? So one of the biggest things that brought transparency in India, see, I think about 20 years ago, when I used to come to India and I used to look for a cab, it is always difficult to negotiate or the kind of how much it costs to go from the airport to some place or all this kind of stuff. Now I don't think about it, right? None of us think about these kind of things. It's just Uber, Ola, right? Or Meru, any of those things. Because there is a built-in transparency, because everybody is traceable, trackable. Every product is trackable. Every person job is trackable, traceable. When such kind of a transparency is brought into the entire area through the data, now departments cannot fake anymore, or cannot lie anymore, or cannot misrepresent anymore, or they cannot hide anymore. I'm not implying any negative intentions. But what it means is that you cannot have these walls. The material department or the supply department or the stores, they all need or have a lot of opportunities to work together. That kind of a collaboration is going to be critical to identify the use cases and the outcomes and eventual improvements. And next one is the capabilities. So somebody who's not that efficient in what they do, they cannot hide anymore, right? I mean, you cannot protect people from jobs or people from being less efficient or any of those things, because day by day, just the way, somebody today, a Swiggy boy comes and delivers you pizza, and one of the things he's expecting from you with a nice smile is that you're going to give him a 5-star, right? So similarly, everyone is looking to who is tracked now in digitally, they will be expecting to be improve their own capabilities, because their efficiencies are evident and open for everyone to see. You cannot hide anymore. So as a result, these capabilities, everybody will be challenged to improve their capabilities, and because it is for everyone to see. And then between levels and genders, this is another point in terms of inclusivity. Just because somebody has 20 years of experience, it doesn't mean he can boss over. Because somebody with 5 years experience, when he sees the data, he can see the problems or he can point out issues. You cannot say that, okay, hey, both are in the meeting, and the one with 20 years experience got to say, hey, do it this way because I said so. Now, if the data says otherwise, even a 5-year experienced guy can question, which is exactly what is going to happen in these kind of new workforce, where the data and the insights and AI, whatever, they keep telling you the reality or where the issues are. So in which case, so it is important for all levels to cooperate and work together with I would say, a sense of, what is it called? Dignity of labor. We used to use that word long time ago. So everyone needs to be respected. So and also include the genders. Now, what also means is that earlier when you had a factory, let's say, I used to know a factory called Bharat Heavy Plates, BHPV, plates and vessels in Vizag, Visakhapatnam. Obviously, heavy plates and vessels mean a lot of mechanical engineers, whatnot, and with the different levels. And it is hard to see too many women working there, right? But once you start doing more automation and more technology, you'll start seeing more women in the workplace, in the industries, in the factories. In fact, my own friends' daughters, one daughter, she was very much interested in manufacturing. She went into automobile manufacturing. She's working in some pretty big company in the US and on the shop floors. Why? Because it's not like you have to lift some weights and be masculine and do anything. So Industry 4.0 brings in everyone together. And so you need to be prepared. The teams need to be prepared to collaborate. So inclusivity across levels, across genders, everything is a very essential thing. So your HR leadership needs to adjust to a new kind of an organization. So this is going to be quite challenging. I can go on more topics. That's one part. Now, ethics and transparency. Now, since many of the issues, with data across the entire process is going to bring a lot of transparency. Now, it is very difficult for someone to cheat and get away with it. Like, I know there is a time 20, 30 years ago when we used to talk about, I don't want to name anything, but a project is happening with the government and somebody stole certain amount of cement. All those things, if really want to track, you can easily track them, and it's not difficult. And so the ethics will be also the center for all employees, because you cannot hide anymore. So that's important. And then I asked about this entire topic to some of my friends from engineering, and he came from oil and gas. So he was talking about and sharing a lot of interesting papers on risk mitigation and safety across locations. Now, he's in oil and gas, especially offshore, and he's in the risk management. And he says that hazard identification is very, very critical, especially in offshore wells. They do nowadays, over the past 10, 50 years, they started adding many more sensors so that they can identify any kind of troublesome issues, either with any kind of joints, materials, weights, or specific instruments, or any specific processes. There's so many instruments that are being sensors that are being deployed in oil and gas pipelines, wells, and many places, so that they can predict, they can start giving out the data and help in predicting any kind of hazards. In the past 5-10 years, I know about some chemical plants where there have been some blasts or leakages of poisonous gases. Many of these can be avoided using technology, definitely. And if you look at India, I know in India, there is in the Indian Railways, there is a program called Kavach. And Kavach is an indigenously developed program to look for any kind of a collision conditions or railway track conditions and be able to avoid any kind of incidents, untoward incidents. So risk mitigation and safety across all locations is something that's a huge area that depending on the industry, it needs to improve. And same thing, environmental impacts. And since I said these 2 points came from my friend in oil and gas, you know that they don't want to have, they better not have any kind of leakages. And that's a perennial problem for them. So without going too much overboard or too far out, these are the key areas that I try to address. Now, I know I can ask and wait for any kind of a Q&A towards the end. How about if anyone has questions, I can answer them now before I go to the little bit more topics.
Sir, Sangeeta here.
Yes, Sangeeta.
Yeah. Sir, like how smart factory team and people driven factories, how can we differentiate? One way we are talking about automation,
Mm-hmm.
and the other side we are talking about it is going to be people driven.
Mm-hmm.
Can you differentiate, sir? Like,
sure, definitely. I think the biggest topic here is that we call it as a maturity index. Any kind of industry 4.2 or any of this kind of modernization, we actually define certain characteristics for maturity levels. So let's say if you go to a sugar factory that is started 30 years ago, maybe there's not much of automation there, right? Then it is mostly people, right? That is one. But at the same time, if you go to the latest Mahindra's electric factory, maybe they only have 100 people. That's it. In the other factory, they probably had 800 people or 1,000 or 300 people. That is a people driven. That is one. There, even the processes and every bit of the industrial process is driven by the actual people working on the ground, right? That is one part. But when it comes to now, you remove at least 50, 60% of the workforce and replace them with robots or data or insights and AI and whatnot. Now, suddenly, I cannot hire an ordinary ITA from the field and be able to put them in charge of my line, right? So, in a smart factory, the people need to be highly cross-functional. My electrical engineer needs to understand what the software says, and my software engineer needs to understand what the mechanical terms are. What is a stress? What is a compressor? What is a condenser? What happens in that, right? So they need to be, so these kind of cross-functional teams are much more important here. Whereas in the earlier phase, we know that they're on a shop floor. The fitter does only one job at a time. He doesn't care about anything else that happens. So they're highly focused on very small functions and narrowly focused, and that's what the thing was. Now in a smart factory, because there's so much that with one button, I can stop the entire process, or with one button, I can do a lot of good or whatever that is. And there's an alarm that is showing up on the screen, on the SCADA screen. And if I don't know how to respond to it, then there's a problem, right? You need a whole cross-functional leadership, cross-functional teams who are well trained in this kind of a new technologies and the exception handling and the process handling. So earlier, you actually had, let's say, 1,000 people. Out of that, if one fitter doesn't come in, nothing happens for 1 week, right? He took leave for a week, and something happened, and he went off for a week. But here, you cannot afford any kind of a downtime. So for every person, you need to have your backups in the processes, in the people, and in the capabilities. So if you take the entire capabilities and how much you have automated, how much you have modernized, for each of those critical things, you need to have your the teams and the heads and the processes and the backup. And so here, the responsibility of one person in the previous factories versus the new one, the responsibility is 10 times or 100 times. That's why people become very critical.
thank you, sir.
Sure, that's an easy one. Thank you. By the way, when people talk to me, I mean, I did my engineering in electronics and communications, then went to do computer science and AI and other things. So today, when I talk to people, since I've been working in the energy sector for the past 10 years, I can talk about substations and voltages, currents, and batteries and integration. It's just that I'm curious and because I enjoy these kind of new domains and we get into it. And so this is a kind of a curiosity led critical thinking and flexible and adaptability is required for everyone that is working in these domains. Any more question? Okay. I think it's so wonderful that everyone understood exactly what needs to be done in the modern factories and how we need to train new people, how we can build these kind of workforces. Fantastic. And one topic I would like to say is that while we talk about the international companies working in India, I really would like Indian startups and Indian companies to be given more chances, and where the new students should be looking at doing more things inside India for India, so that we will be more self-resilient and self-sustainable. That is one thing that I always, a message that I always give it to people, to everyone, to become self-reliant. So now let me quickly talk about, so far I didn't show you any graphs or pictures, so I'm just going to draw one or two pictures to see if I can build up some little more momentum. Now this is talking about the technology a little bit. So if you look at the technology or any kind of Industry 4.0, it's always like acquire, stream and contextualize and model based on different type of process or the equipment or the assessment, and then be able to analyze and visualize. This is a simple picture. And by the way, I encourage, I don't know how many of you are still aware, but you need to follow these research organizations and research topics quite a bit. And one of the research organizations that's quite popular is Gartner. Gartner has a whole bunch of very nice pictures that explains the trends and the use cases in building up modern factories, right? So here you're talking about different kind of systems, a transactional database or the equipment with telemetry, how it can send data from the remote locations. I know there is a company startup in California, not a startup anymore, but that started about 6-7 years ago, called Samsara. I mean, that's a Sanskrit word, Samsara, S-A-M-S-A-R-A. Now it started off with a camera with computer vision with AI analytics. Now it is there on, what they do is they set up this equipment. Is one of the products that they had early on in all kinds of construction equipment. But the trucks, the trawlers, the cranes, whatnot, they all can have this kind of a multiple cameras hooked up into different parts of it. And what this Samsara does is it actually acquires data and sends it to, and does some processing and sends it to the cloud, and also back and forth, and it actually alerts the operator in case of any issues. So I also, so for example, I know about a company that does, they do what is known as, in India, we know that on the side of the roads, they dig up the roads to lay new cables, right? Now, instead of digging up with whatever traditional methods, in the US, there are companies that do the digging using forced water-based digging or excavations, which are much more precise, and they can be, and the filling up or anything else can be a lot more easier. So when you have those kind of excavation or any of those kind of tricky things or dangerous things, activities that are being done in the field, then the Samsara, it actually sets up these kind of number of sensors around to ensure the safety of the person involved and the equipment and also any kind of surroundings. So this equipment telemetry is the most popular one, where almost pretty much like unlike 10 years ago, now every equipment is coming up with this kind of sensors and IoTs and the telemetry to be able to get the data. And the data typically is a time series data, and a lot of events that happen in the at various stages of the operations can be captured. And these IoT, as I just mentioned, IoT sensors or the edge gateways and even vision systems. That's what I was talking about, cameras or even sensors. They all can get lots of data. And once the data is acquired in whatever the number of ways, whichever way, all can be centralized and they can be normalized. And then you actually create context based on the process or the equipment or the quality or the production, the outcome or the yield or the scrap or whatever the sustainability factors, the energy consumption or the water consumption or the wastage or specific chemicals that are coming out. So a whole bunch of KPIs can be captured or can be built across this context. And relatively based on that, across earlier, we do have SCADA systems in some ways. Those are called operational technologies, OT systems. These OT systems are just like IT. We should call them as IT and OT, operational technologies. Of course, AI and IoT, all these things are different. So OT systems are typically well-defined systems for specific operations, but they're not giving out the data to rest of the for later on analysis. So now what we're talking here is that no matter what the systems are, the database is like ERP database. Yeah, when is the material purchased? When is the equipment purchased? And what is the warranty terms on these kind of equipment? So all those things can be acquired from different databases, sensors, and data. And once they're all put together into a singular source of truth, right? We call it a single source of truth. And then you can create different multimodal objects. Multimodal meaning you can actually have the warranty terms from the warranty sheets and the pictures from inspections and the operational data from a SCADA system and the visual inspections, drone inspections or visual inspections later on during the operations. So any of those different slicing and dicing and can be done to build new kind of objects, right? New kind of perspectives, dimensions. And based on them, you can create visualization dashboards or VR, AR, or digital twins, or any kind of AI use cases. So there's several ways of doing this, and these are the just a quick industrial data management framework, very simple. One simple way of representing the entire Industry 4.2 in a very simplistic way. So by the way, this is something I mentioned in the CBIT earlier. One of the biggest things that we need to look at is LinkedIn has lots and lots of resources of people posting out papers and documents. I don't know many other social media platforms that way. But I do go there and I do follow a lot of these research papers and studies and posts from different people. And the more I look at, the more I get. This is an interesting part of Google or LinkedIn or any of these. The more you search for specific items, the more you see them. So if you're not able to find the data that you're looking for, then that means you're not asking the right questions frequently enough. So the more you ask, the more you get all these insights and the latest stuff from the net. Now, this is another one. I don't know how many of you look at this kind of a Gartner hype cycle. Now, this is something that we always do. So in order to know the roadmap of technologies or roadmap of technologies in manufacturing, so Gartner published this in July 2024, and it's called a hype cycle. What it means is that anytime you hear something, a new topic, you always just keep wondering whether is it real, not real, what the hell is this, right? So this is something, this hype cycle is the one that gives you a certain kind of perspective on these different topics when you consider looking at things. Now, first, it is an innovation trigger. Means, yeah, people think, yeah, hey, I can actually think of new ideas. Let's say, for example, today, I know it's not easy, but people probably are talking about net zero factory. What is net zero? Which means the net of all the energy consumption, electric, water, gas, or any of these things. I mean, how can you make this factory as net zero? So that I don't, it's easy to talk about it as a, let's say if you have a house and whatever water that is coming from outside, you're consumed and you are recycling and you're using it for rainwater harvesting and all that. So the net of the water that you're consuming from outside is a net zero in a, let's say in a 6 months or a year. That is what is known as a net zero concept. Now, how do you make a factory net zero? That itself is a huge new thinking, and it's very difficult to achieve it. That's why it is still in the innovation trigger, right? So industry cloud platforms for manufacturing. I mean, this is a perennial thing that I've been seeing for the last 7-8 years, right? So these are all the new thoughts at various stages. And the difference is that after a certain level of peak expectations from the industry. Hey, I want this. Everybody says I want this, but can it really do it? What we're talking? Then only certain ideas will come across and say, hey, probably that is okay. Yeah, only this is achievable. Now I cannot do everything, right? So when ChatGPT came out 2 years ago, everybody thought this whole world is going to change. But what it changed? What changed so far? At the most, I'm using. I mean, I'm sure you all have different applications now, but the big applications, the changes are still happening. It'll probably take 1 more year. It's not that the entire world is different. So a lot of so slowly you start using the technologies and the concepts for things that really matter. So only what delivers for you is what actually happens. So let's say take this example. So the trough of disillusionment, right? And then slowly means connected factory worker. That means somebody said, okay, I can put up sensors on a factory worker, the uniform and a helmet and camera and all kinds of sensors, and I can know exactly where he is and what he's doing. Now that was something probably that was discussed as part of Industry 4.0. Then people realize, hey, maybe I don't need to wire everybody up. It's a different issue. I don't want to wire people up, right? So in such case, the illusionment, okay, it is not applicable in all cases. So this is what is known the trough for disillusionment, right? Hey, I thought it's going to be great, but it's not as great I really wanted, right? That's the one. Like the digital twins for factories, right? This is all the concepts. Now, from that point, now then there is the slope of enlightenment and the plateau of productivity. Means once the hook law and all the euphoria dies down, slowly the important use cases and the real use cases will emerge more than the hook law. And they started, then the customers also will see the, hey, now this is something I can use it. Like digital twins, I know they're being pushed and I know that they're happening, but not as much as fast as we like, because it requires its own lot of refactoring and a lot of rethinking, right? And of course, OT security, I was talking about this operational technologies. We all know that the biggest issue once you get connected, we call this as connected factory, smart factory, where a lot of equipment, sensors, processes are now connected in some kind of a network and even a connection all the way to the internet, in which case then suddenly you are vulnerable. These OT systems earlier are we thought was secure. Now suddenly they become insecure now because they're connected to the internet or some types of networks that you don't know anything about. So I know about a pharma company, I think somewhere in Europe, and they had a break-in. And one of the reasons that happened was they just purchased a network printer that was installed, and the network printer had a Trojan that was already pre-installed with the network printer. And as soon as it is connected, it took control of the manufacturing, and it stopped the manufacturing of the drugs. And the whole thing was a ransomware attack, and the people had to come up with several millions to get back in shape. So OT security is real. Industry 4.0, and it will actually bring up all these kind of things, right? So I'm pausing it here, and this is all I have. And I like you all to get used to these kind of hype cycles and Gartner or any of these research reports, and assess yourself and also work with the real industries where things are already happening, and build up the students and the new workforce to be more hands-on and more enthusiastic and curious about everything that is around them. Now, the whole issue of the new world is that it's going to be highly technical, and only the best of the people will survive. So we really need to encourage and train everyone to be a lot more hardworking. I'm sorry if I'm repeating what L&D chairman said, but there need to be a lot more hardworking and make sure the factories work. We all get what we need, and the country progresses in the way it is supposed to progress. And that's my presentation. I didn't plan too many things, but it all depends. If you have any questions, love to answer.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, if you have any questions, please unmute or please post in the chat box.
I think I'm speaking during the dinner time.
Sir, one question from my end, being an
Mhm.
operations faculty. Uh, Sir, like we're talking about the layoffs in the service industry. So, because of the smart technologies or automation, how it is going to impact on jobs of the workers in the front line or at the back end?
There's going to be see, I think it all depends on which factory it is. If it's a factory that is 30, 40 years old, they want to remain that way, that is one thing. But any factory where the business is doing good. See, I think if you want to look at the new factories versus the old, really old, I can see that there are more new factories than really old factories that don't want to modernize, right? That is number one. And secondly, all those factories that are already there, I can see that if the business is good, they're now starting up new factories. So if earlier if they had a factory where they're producing something, but their operations team is, let's say they have 400 people doing their work, and if their business is good, and if not them, their competition is setting up a new factory with the latest technology and latest automation with better quality, then because of the competition, they don't have a choice but to start another factory with modern technology and kind of slowly bring this down. There is a pressure that we have, and the jobs will be definitely under threat, and it is no small threat. And I really think everybody should be on their toes and be able to adapt to the changes, or else there'll be a lot of people without jobs, because that many, if you really want to deliver a quality product, you don't need that many people. That is a nature of industrialization or modern industrialization.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So that's why if you look at most of the automobile industry, because there's a consistency and quality is so important, they simply go for automation. Large, if you look at Hyundai factories in Korea, they barely have 30, 40 people operating the entire plant. So more and more automation, that's the only way forward. So anyone who's up for it will have a wonderful time forward. But if you're not up for the change, then you'll be left behind.
Yes, sir. I'm having one question regarding the leadership point of view. So right now I am working in the manufacturing organization where we are having a 80-20 percentage ratio, means with compared to the contractual worker and permanent worker. And due to that, the attrition rate is very high. So in that case, means as a leadership point of view, which kind of the things we'll be doing that so we can able to reduce the attrition rate?
Okay, firstly, there probably is a reason why you have a lot of contract workers, right, comparatively. So what probably would happen is attrition is something that is pretty normal. I think we all need to be used to attrition, especially if it is a quality work. Is it a quality work? Is it less quality work? Or is it the quality work where you have the attrition?
It means totally manual dependent work. So the person is working the molding machine, and for the inspection part they will be take care.
So the approach, again, I'm just as an outsider, I'm talking about is what we do, we recommend in some cases is that if there is a core part or a core part of your own operation that is critical for you, you keep it and you have your best people on it. But whatever is not core, take it out and outsource in the entirety. If there is a component that is not really core that anybody can do, maybe there's a screw, maybe there is a specific object that can be done elsewhere in a different way and better. So start outsourcing the components that are less critical for you. Then what happens is, as you do that, that's again, in the beginning, I call this as Muda in a different way. That's what Japanese do. Whatever is the core, you focus on the core and get your best people onto the core. Whatever is not really the core, start taking it out and start outsourcing the complete to a third party. Sometimes what happens even in BHEL, what I know, again, it's just my outside observation, not as an insider, is So if somebody is very good in certain technical aspects of specific components and creating let's say, hydro turbine in specific components, now they just give it off to a guy who went off to the company or is near the company. He knows how to do this job. So encourage, and that's what ISRO does, by the way. ISRO depends on a lot. ISRO doesn't manufacture anything on its own. They have very good quality standards, and they develop these partners who actually can do things for you. So if people is a problem, quality people is a problem, you can never solve the problem. There's no easy way. The only way is to cut down to the core critical components and get your best people in, and most of the other third party or less critical stuff outsource and get it done by other people. That way you'll have more peace of mind and more. We do that too. Whatever is not core to us, we just give it out and outsource to companies who focus on only that.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, good evening. This is Dr. Jayanti from CBIT. A couple of minutes back, you just suggested us to go through certain researchers, maybe by Gartner or so. So there is an interesting research done by Grandview Research, which estimates that the market size of generative AI will be around $16.87 billion, which was in 2024, is pegged at 37.6% in 2030. I just quickly did a research on this, not a very detailed one, but there was also a question about the displacement of job by generative AI. So alternatively, can we think of generative AI augmenting the human capabilities in certain jobs, leading to increased productivity or their work efficiency? What is your take on this, sir?
Oh, absolutely. I believe in it. It's already happening. It's just that in industrial area, so what even Sam Altman and I spent a lot of time in California, and what most of us think is that everyone will have an AI assistant. Today, see, I know that 30 years ago, we all used to know some, I don't know how many people know this. I'm too old for this. We used to memorize what is the capital of Uganda? What is the capital of this? What is the capital of that? Now we don't anymore, right? All this information is at our fingertips.
Yes.
Similarly, today the AI assistants will definitely help you do things, but I think like most people are asking, in an industrial environment, how much of it can be trusted? How much of the advice is trusted, right? So now generative AI is something in order to get into the core industrial area. So I think peripherally, somebody creating a video for a marketing presentation or manuals, right? Or HR manuals, HR chatbot, all those things are easy part. Now, so the simpler applications are already out there, but the bigger problem is if I'm in a bottling plant, what would Gen AI do for me? I'm making bottles. What would Gen AI do for me?
Request V Priyanka to mute yourself, please.
Did I answer the question or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is an extension to this question. Can I, or
Sure,
one more
sure.
question?
I'm okay.
You see, we are all from the service sector, and what role will this continuous learning and upskilling play in ensuring workers remain relevant in an AI-driven economy?
Firstly, your electrician is not going away.
Okay.
AI cannot fix your electric bulbs. So my first thing is that whatever you think is I think first rule of thumb is that in India, even the farmers and the people working on the farms are leaving their own jobs thinking that they can come to the cities. And people who are coming to the cities are thinking that they can sit in a nice room in a AC building and be able to work in IT jobs. Those low-level IT jobs, many of them will disappear. That's given. Because if somebody with a very poor qualification can do it, why the hell do I need any of them, right? So it's going to be a lots and lots of replacement that will happen. That's the number one. And number two, in order to be upskilling, it is not just upskilling yourself, but how are you relevant to the organization or the business? right? So that is going to be very, very important. If you're in a, let's say, in a utility, a power utility, electric utility, you're in a renewable organization. How can you think in the lines of your CEO, your board member, your investor, your equipment manufacturer? Today, if you go to ChatGPT and type, I don't know. See, by the way, this is my favorite thing that I always say: you get what you ask for. So you go to ChatGPT and you or Gemini and you ask for, what is my investor thinking about my company? What is the investor for this kind of a thing is doing, right? So then you'll have those perspectives. If you are working on those perspectives and upskilling yourself and being more useful in the organization, fantastic. You will be required, and people who can cross paths of skills or levels, they will be very much required going forward. And whereas people who are not qualified and trying to while away the jobs and trying to use GenAI to generate the document, GenAI to do the presentation, GenAI to prepare my speech, GenAI to create my code, why do we need a person? They'll be gone. People who do not add any context or quality to what is being done, they will become irrelevant. Sorry, a long-winded answer, but that's just my feeling.
May I add a few points with you, sir?
Sure.
Yes, rather upskilling, rightly you said, there are two more parameters, like three sides of a triangle. Skilling, upskilling, sometimes reskilling. That also, helps the organization. Am I right, sir?
Absolutely. That's why I said you need to be relevant. See, I'm
Yes,
not
yes.
good with words like you are all. But, so to me,
yeah.
so actually, what is, by the way, just to give you an example, I'm talking to management in other companies, other organizations. Now, these days, people who are not good in what they do and people who are good, the difference is showing up too dramatically.
Exactly, sir. Exactly, correct.
So for the organization, for the management, when the contract is too big, why do they want to carry the people who are the burden in the organization? They'll all be let go. So there's no room for them. So it is very, very critical for people to become relevant and useful and share the common objectives of the organization. If you don't, then you don't have place in the organization.
Well said, sir. Thank you very much for your insight, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate
Sir,
it.
yeah. Sir, one more question from the participant, Dr. Neeraja ma'am. Recently, there was a video saying AI and ML will be a threat to mankind as a program created by them will be out of human control. What is
Yes,
your
of course.
opinion on this?
Of course. Of course. We have seen enough James Bond movies, right? The world today is more scarier than James Bond. So yes, it will be a threat. But I fear for the people much more than the AI. I fear, see, today, how do you have wars? Who started the war in Ukraine? Who started the war in Gaza? Who are these people? AI did not start these wars. So ultimately, people need to look at the sensibilities of mankind. I think if you do not grow up with a value system, I think technology is only technology. It's just a tool. But if you don't have the head on the shoulders, see, good or bad, we all, I'm the old generation. When I was going through so one of the biggest things lacking that I always feel is we can talk about ABCD or, mathematical formulas or algorithms or AI. But ultimately, if you do not have a character, integrity, those kind of things that are not taught anywhere in the school. Now, if somebody does not have a character or integrity, then they will not be useful and they'll be detrimental with whatever tools that are given to them. So, yeah, what I would like to see or what I would hope for is that irrespective of technology, if people do not have, it's just like, right? Is it the gun that is killing people or is it the person who's shooting who's killing the people, right? AI is still a tool. So as people, we need to be more responsible. We need to develop and inculcate a character where you're not always after short-term things. One day, one guy walked into my office, right? And he just told me, a young kid, and a young fresher, 24 years old. He simply said, "Hey, sir, sir, I want to work." I said, what do you want to do? What is your plan for the next 5 years? Oh, I'm going to work for you for 2-3 years. Then after that, I'll learn good technology and then go join TCS or Infosys. I'll get married. I'll have 2 children and a car. What kind of I cannot even believe how a 23-year-old guy can actually talk like this. So the entire value system and the character, if it is not there in people, then every tool will only be detrimental for you. And that is just my take. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but I feel that is the most essential in everything that we do. AI alone doesn't do any harm. I think we do more harm to ourselves.
Well said, sir. Sorry for one more interruption. So you
Most
said no,
welcome.
AI is like a gun. But in my perception, I agree with you. And I would like to say, information on AI. It is like a double-edged sword. That is what I feel. So how exactly we can use make use of the information? Yeah.
Very important actually. This is what I really like. This is a very important question. Now, how many of you understand data points from opinions? How many of you think of or are capable of forming your own opinions with data points, irrespective of what is out there in the news channels or what the analyst says?
So again, it depends on their, people's perception. Am I right, sir? If I'm wrong, please correct me, sir.
It's not just a perception. I think you need to have a blank page every time you get into a thing, any kind of conversation. Yes. Be able to get just the data points. Just to get the data points, irrespective of people's opinions. There are too many opinions, analysis, forecasts. Just ignore all of that. Just look at only the data points. The mind will be a lot more clear.
Sir,
very true, sir. Very true.
When you're just surrounded by those channels around which you watch day in and day out, and you're watching the channels, and whatever news, the inflow of the news happen through your apps. So when everything speak the same language, obviously you tend to tilt towards that. And your wise counsel might deplete. This is my humble opinion. When the entire ecosystem speaks a certain language, you are a part of it. And your perception is big. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think I'll have to share this a long time ago with in one of the CBIT, in one of the talks I was sharing this. Today, Google is a reflection of you. You go to Google, if you just type in ABCD and whatever you get, it is a reflection of you. It is what you're searching. What you're searching is becoming you as a character, as a personality, and Google is simply giving it back to you. So secondly, the kind of the channels and see, I personally don't look at anybody's opinion. It doesn't matter who it is in the world. I might listen to Steve Jobs once in a while, but I'm not always after opinions. But the main thing is the Googles of the world, Chat GPTs, Geminis, and anything that you use. It all depends on the question that you ask. You just have to change the question that you're asking. If you keep on asking the question, will AI take away my jobs? By the 4th or 5th time, you'll get the answer saying that, yes, it will take away your jobs. Maybe, maybe not. That's the right answer, right? Maybe, maybe not. And will it take away my life? So if you keep asking the question, then so that you keep getting funny answers. So it is very, very important to ask the right question. That is, what is the right question? Only you would know. What matters to you and the people around you? I think don't take me wrong on this, friends, but looking out and talking so much about AI is personally is less useful than a student in front of you who's going out into the world and going for a job. What is he going to do? To me, that is much more important than what AI does for the country. To me, I'm more interested in cricket players or soldiers who are going out there to die. I see people there left, and I have a lot of friends in armed forces. And when you have a student in front of you, what he does going out into the world is much more important than what AI does for us. We all have to touch the people that are around us and make sure we leave a positive impact with everyone that is around us. AI is just another tool. Trust me, when Google came out and other tools came out, everything looked so big. Yeah, of course, AI is big, but in 2 years, you'll all get used to AI around you as if it is just electricity on the wall.
So one more question from my end. Sir, any strategies are there for addressing potential job displacement caused by AI automation?
Oh, absolutely. I was sharing, right? The future will be people who really contribute, because there is a stark contrast where people cannot hide anymore. If you want to work in a manufacturing industry, you want to go to a service industry, you better be good in it. Because entire world, let me tell you this, if somebody thinks he can go to Amit Peet and get trained in a 1 month course and fake a resume and go get a job, those days are numbered. If what they're doing is something not genuine, again, I don't mind somebody learning in 1 month. That is not my problem. But if they're doing it to sneak into a job, somehow sneak into all kinds of stuff, they will all be fired very, very quickly. So if you're in a field, whatever you're trying to do, be the best in it. Use AI to learn what you're supposed to and be the best in what you do. And you use every tool to be the best. By the way, one of the easy things that happened was I was out for Sankranti in one of my places, and one of my nephews came to me. He's 20 years old. And I want to give him a gift. So I signed him up for an online course for AI agents. That's it. If you want to learn AI, learn about the latest topics and the best of the topics. Don't just try to copy people that don't think you can get away without actually working hard. To me, the biggest problem I see, a 140 crore country like ours, if 50% people are not useful, how do we carry their burden? To me, that is the biggest problem, much more than AI. That is the biggest problem I always worry about.
Thank you, sir, for answering.
I don't know if I've answered, but there are bigger problems to worry about. AI by itself doesn't do any harm. Just ask everyone to work hard, very hard. And if they don't work hard, they don't have a job or life or future, anything. That is a promise. You can promise your students.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Well said, sir. Thank you. Dear participants, any questions?
From my side, no more questions, ma'am.
So I guess I answered all your questions. Oh, that's too good.
This is the 8th session, sir, which we are attending in this FDP. So all FDPs, all sessions are like east direction of the world. We have 8 directions of the world, northwest, east, south, north, east, southwest, likewise. So this 360-degree coverage of this entire topic has been exclusively done. So there is on behalf of the participants, I would like to congratulate the entire organizing team and the selecting the right people for right topic. That's very important. I think, sir, you also will agree with me. There are two things. One is efficiency. Another one is effectiveness.
I
Efficiency
agree
means
with you. And one topic, let me just leave you with before I conclude. I think many of you are all academicians, right?
exactly, sir. 99% here.
So to me, I'm going to ask you one very simple question. The best of the companies, you know how Silicon Valley started in California, right?
yes, sir.
Hewlett Packard.
They started in a small carriage.
Yeah, but
automobile carriage.
They were influenced by a professor from Stanford.
Exactly. That's
and even today, there are many professors in Stanford who actually come out to start companies and do wonderful things. Yes. So I really want the academia in India to take a very active role on the practical side of things and lead your students to real problems, real solutions, real industries, and get acquainted with the real stuff. And I do hope you do more and more of that. And I'm looking forward to 10 professors. If you ask me what my vision or what my wish would be, forget about AI and other things. They're just the tools. Out of the few hundred people that are attending these sessions, if 10 of professors come out and start companies or encourage your students to come up with new companies or startups in India for India, or you help industries build efficiencies directly, I mean, to me, that is the best thing that you can do for India. That is the only thing I would request you.
Yeah, well said, sir. I am Dr. Paul. I am the professor and head of robotics from Christ University, Bangalore. Rightly, you said this is my 24th year in academics. Every year, every semester, when I go to first class, I used to tell my students to become an entrepreneur. And one fine morning in 2019, when I went to one class, first year class, one boy, he asked me, "Sir, you are telling me that for the last 20 plus years, you are motivating students to become an entrepreneur. Are you an entrepreneur?" Then immediately my eyes has been opened up by the student. Then I started my own company called Platinum Consulting Private Limited in 2020. So this is my fourth year successfully running my company. I incubated my company inside Christ University, Bangalore, and my head office it is in Chennai. So I do agree with you, sir. My tagline is empowering the solution. That is what I do under my consulting private limited company. So I agree with you. I would like to tell these 2 points as a concluding remark. One is we have to do our job efficiently, at the same time effectively. It means we have to do right things. At the same time, we have to do things rightly. Am I right, sir?
Sir, you're all master of words. I mean, I don't have so many things to say, but
Yeah.
agree with you 100%. And thank you so much for the opportunity given to me to address you all. I do hope if it helps you in any of clarifying or bringing clarity or any of the topics that you have in mind. I think that's something that I intend to do. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Have a nice meeting you in virtual mode. We would like to meet in personal, offline mode if time permits. Thank you very much for your attention, sir.
Appreciate it.
Sir, thank you. Sir, one note from my end. Sangeeta here. Sir, it is
Okay.
always exciting to hear from an entrepreneur because you know everything, like right from identifying a problem till you resolve and you implement it. So, you know, like as Dr. Pal sir has rightly said, today we have got an overview of all the 360 degrees. So here, like first time I have heard about smart factory team, and we teach the students about vendor management. But you have rightly said that we have to treat vendors like partners, not just business related. And I'm happy to hear from you like some of the total quality management techniques like Mura, Moody, and Japanese FIRES model. And literally, sir, learned a lot from this session. Definitely, this time I'm going to discuss all these points with our students. Thank you so much. I think even by looking at the chat box, we can see that they have enjoyed, literally, they have enjoyed your session, sir. So many takeaways from your session. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you a lot, sir. From School
Good
of
day,
Management.
everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Sir, wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, ma'am. It's always a pleasure
Yeah.
with the academia.
Yeah, we enjoyed the session, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Once again, thank you, sir. I
Thank you,
thank
sir.
all the participants.
Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
Dear participants, feedback form has been shared in the chat box. Request participants to fill the feedback form. Madam, do we have to wait? Can we exit the meeting?
Yes, Sangeeta, we will be online for 10 minutes. You can leave, but I will just take care and I will end the meeting.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.